Hey everyone, Ben Fleischacker with SCHEELS, here with my co-host Arlie. We're going to talk about how to choose the right collar, not only for a bird dog, but for any dog, right? I mean, if you go to the dog, to the pound, you adopt a dog, or if you're sitting there and you're waiting, and you've been waiting for months and months to finally get that bird dog you finally wanted. So on the tailgate here, we've got a handful of collars and receivers, and we're just kind of walk through them and kind of talk about what the features are important and what features are not going to be important for you. So to start, we're going to start with the very basic one. So this guy right here is just a sport dog. Garmin makes one, DT makes one, Dogtra makes one. They're entry-level collars. They're really good for the yard. Typically they have a few 100-yard range in them, and that's line of sight. So if we're out here in the park, you know, and I bet you we could probably see 400 yards is probably the max that you can really see. I feel very comfortable with this collar right here. And the reason why is that I can see my dog. It's just correction right there. Hey, come, whistle to it, right? Dog park, same thing. Avoid a stressful situation with another dog. From a yard perspective, to train your dog, it's very, very easy. Next, we got two different styles right here. The reason why they're very similar to the same, obviously they're not, but they're very similar. One's got a digital readout, which is something that's really came on the market the last several years here. The other one's just a generic, old school one. I personally really like this guy right here. This is a Garmin. 3-dog selector, that's important too. This guy right here has got a multiple dog selector, but it's all digital. I'm more kind of, I guess, old school, and I want to feel where I'm at. I want to be able to adjust it with my hands versus, you know, pressing the buttons. Next, we kind of step into something a little bit more excessive that some people might say. This right here is a Pro 550 from Garmin. It's got a GPS down here in the bottom where it gives you the direction of your dog. This is something that if you're in heavy cover or a bunch of terrain, I'm a big fan of these because you always know where your dog's at. With this is a multiple dog unit too, so that way if you at home you have multiple dogs, you have a couple house dogs and then one hunting dog, well, you want to take them all out. These units are expandable. This unit's expandable. The upgraded version of the sport dog is expandable up to 2 dogs. And so the nice thing is you can have multiple dogs all in the same thing. So with this guy, it's very big, top dial. It is GPS enabled. The next, the cream of the crop right here, it's a Garmin 200 Alpha I. Or 200i, excuse me. And so with this guy, I can do far more on this screen as well as with my dogs. And so one thing I will encourage you though is if you are training, these GPS units are not necessarily the best training style collars. There is a small delay when you go to correct the dog, whether it's a tone, a vibrate, or some electricity, versus these guys are instantaneous, or it happens right away. So again, these are fantastic collars. I use these 300 days a year. I probably have these on my dogs, depending on where we're at. However, if I'm in a training scenario, I'm always going back to a sport dog, a DT, a Garmin, a Dogtra, whatever it might be, something that is just immediate. I don't need to know where my dog's at because it's a very controlled situation. This is not in the moment. This is either at the dog park, at a public landing at a river, you know, just playing with the dogs in the water, or actually out in the field correcting the dog on whatever situation might be. And so with these, the next steps that you kind of have to take a look at is the range. And so we talked about a little bit ago that the range on these collars is not that great. So it's usually a couple 100 yards. You go up to this, the range is miles, right? I can track my dogs miles and miles and miles away from me. Excessive. However, if you're in the right habitat, you really need this. That way you don't lose your dogs, especially if you're running multiple dogs. Back to normal, a lot of people will run this. If not, there are beeper collars out there too, where there's actually a beeper that goes on top of this. I've hunted with those quite a bit. I do like them. The only thing I don't like is I actually would take that beeper off the main collar and I'll put that on the hip of the dog. So that way that beep is just not happening right behind their eardrum. It's very nice. Yeah, again, it's one of those deals you never have to worry about where your dog's at because it's always beeping, right? So, oh, my dog's over there, and then 20 seconds later, my dog's over here because you can hear it beep. Okay, on this one, we'll probably pick on this guy right here just because it's easier to see. We have a tone feature, and we have a vibrate feature. We have a continuous and a momentary, excuse me. And so with this, I can select whatever setting I want. This is set on 4, which is typically pretty hot for a Garmin. Garmin's are a little bit hotter. But on this one, if I press this continuous button down, with the continuous, which it literally means continuous, when I press it in, it's not stopping until I let it off, right? Monetary is just like a nick. And so I can press this and it just quick juice, right? That's it, it's over. Simple correction. Down here, I've got a tone, which it would beep. And then I've got a vibrate. And so this vibrate, it actually vibrates. And so depending on who you are, depending on who your mentor is with the dog world, whether, again, this could be obedience training, it could be top level field trial, AKC, field dog, stud buck, it could be whatever, right? Any type of hunting organization you're a part of, or it could just be basic obedience training. Everybody has a different theory on that. For me, I personally like to use the beep, the tone, to correct them, to give them attention, right? Not to necessarily correct the behavior, but hey, pay attention. What I just did is not right, or I need to be paying attention to me as a handler. If I need to nick them or continue, whether it's a bad behavior or whether it's potentially dangerous behavior. If I see a coon, a coyote, a possum, a porcupine, whatever it might be, I typically give them a little bit of juice. Now, not on a 4, because the 4 setting is pretty high. Typically it's on a 1 or 2. They just need to know that, hey, I can't do that. They're watching me, right? It's that kid behind this, you know, the parents are away, the kid's gonna get in the cookie jar. It's the same thing with these dogs, right? Now, Arlie's a good girl, but I bet you if you left a bag of treats out and you walked away, guess what would happen? She'd probably get into those treats. Now, I could correct that with this right away, right? It doesn't have to be a dramatic experience with a dog. So, with choosing the right collar, I highly encourage you to do your research. Make sure you swing into a SCHEELS or jump on to SCHEELS.com and ask the questions on the live chat. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. And if you have any feedback, please let us know. Thank you.